This is Matt Luongo from Thesis. Round of applause, everyone. Let's get some energy. Matt, take it away.
How we doing? Yeah? Hey, y'all. Welcome. If you're here for the Exploring Bitcoin Use Cases talk, why? That title is super boring. So I made a little change. I'm going to call this Blank on Bitcoin. And let's talk about making Bitcoin useful again. So, a little bit about me. My name is Matt Luongo. I've been working full-time on extending Bitcoin one way or another since 2013. And some of you guys might be familiar with the first company I started in the space, Fold. So the idea behind Fold was simple at the time. We wanted to make it really, really easy to use Bitcoin at a Starbucks. We wanted to make it really easy to use it in store, but it was important that the stores didn't have to accept Bitcoin, right? That was our goal. I learned a lot running that company. But over the years, the big truth that we learned running Fold was that people don't want to spend their Bitcoin. And why would you? Spend your dirty fiat, keep your Bitcoin, right? So for Fold, that meant pivoting to rewards. And today it is Forbes' best Bitcoin-backed rewards card. And they're processing hundreds of millions of dollars in transactions. And people are stacking sats every time they go to the store. After Fold, I started working on a different project. There are quite a few, but I'll skip over some of them. The biggest was tBTC. So the idea with tBTC is simple, right? We all have Bitcoin. Bitcoin, the asset, has value. It's hard money. We should be able to use it anywhere. So the idea with tBTC was, can we have a Bitcoin token, something that's liquid, secure, and redeemable on any chain? We started with Ethereum. Now it's Arbitrum, Solana, Optimism, Base. And the key here was to not have a single centralized custodian. So you don't just want one company holding your Bitcoin for you. We all know what happens when one company is holding your Bitcoin. But the idea is that there is a decentralized set of signers powered by a project called the Threshold Network. So we started this work in 2019. It launched in 2020. And over $500 million has now been bridged via tBTC. So if any of you are thinking about starting an L2, I know it's a very popular new startup has started Bitcoin L2. Please don't just start throwing a multi-sig together. We already have a bridge. You can use it. It's tBTC. And some of the most technically astute L2s have used tBTC to get to market faster without centralizing custody. So, okay, now you know a bit more about what I've done. Great, there's the context. Over the years, I've had the honor and privilege of working with some of the best applied cryptographers, engineers, product people, marketers, educators. They don't get nearly enough credit. And so all of these badass cypherpunks were working, and obviously we were all working toward the culmination of our space, which is the ETF, right? Aren't we all excited to see Gary's face up on the screen? Feels good. The US government gave us a cookie. Congrats, guys. We're done with Bitcoin. We really don't have a lot more work to do. So I guess my question for you guys is this it? Are we done? We have ETFs. I know everyone's gotten to the space in their own way. We've all gotten our own path to get here. But for me, it was nights and weekends. It was working 2 jobs to keep my startup going. It was trying to build something on Bitcoin. And now that my parents can buy Bitcoin via their brokerage account, that's not enough for me. That's not why I joined the space. So you might ask, okay, well, what else is there? And if you believe in the old religion of orange pilling, you know that, well, we have medicine for this, right? You know what to say. not your keys, not your coins. So I'll challenge you to talk to someone who has bought into a Bitcoin ETF. Tell them not your keys, not your coins. See how it moves them. I imagine their first question will be, what's a key? So when I explain this to people, and I know you guys don't need it, but I'm going to share anyway. When I explain this to people, I like to say, like, look, buying into a Bitcoin ETF is like buying cake. You give the baker money, you have a cake, you get to look at it through a glass, think about it, and if you ask nicely, the baker will buy the cake back from you, right? But what we actually want looks a little bit more like this. We want people holding their Bitcoin, otherwise what's the point of this experiment, right? Anyone could create a company with fewer and fewer shares and have similar economic properties to Bitcoin. That's not interesting. So this is how I explain it to my parents. I try to explain, well, if you're just buying this ETF, you're not really experiencing Bitcoin. You're not actually getting the upside of Bitcoin. You're just sort of looking at it. So this is coming up more and more because now, yes, I'm talking a lot about the ETF, but now the market is structured very differently. And I say the market because I've been in this space for so long, but what I actually mean is the user experience for new Bitcoiners is totally different than the experience I had in 2013. For me to get Bitcoin, I had to figure out some like wire transfer, some shady offshore thing. I had to play with all sorts of like strange instruments. But today, people can go to their Fidelity, they think they're buying Bitcoin, and then what? We need to convince them, right? And the old religion isn't enough. The way that we're acting right now, where people should just know, it's not enough. So let's go through a couple common like Bitcoin tenets and talk about how maybe we could do better. So, be your own bank. I really struggle with this one. I love it. It sounds great. But ask yourself, if you've just bought into the ETF, what does this mean? What does be your own bank mean? They have a brokerage account. They seem pretty happy with that. They can hire armed guards at their home. They can learn how to split seed phrases using like Shamir secret sharing. They can start stamping seed phrases onto metal. Like, look, I have hobbies too, y'all. Like, all of these things are things that I've done. But it's not what we should be asking everyone to do, at least not without some upside. And so I like this idea of banking on yourself. We don't just use a bank because they have guns. That's the most boring reason to use a bank. We use a bank because they provide services. And I think for Bitcoin to draw people out of the ETF and for people to care about self-custody, what we need is to expand those services. So for me, what that means is bank on yourself means never spending your Bitcoin. So think about that for a second. Stack sats, save, have your Bitcoin wallet, but never spend. When you need to go, buy something in your life, you should have a credit line against your Bitcoin. And it should be easy. It should be without intermediaries if possible. And the idea is simple, right? We can all be long Bitcoin and short the bankers. That's the opportunity here. So I'm playing with this idea of bank on yourself because I think it's going to be a lot more open to folks who are coming from an ETF background. But it also makes it clear that we need to see really tight alignment between Bitcoin and the rest of finance. And I mean retail, to be clear, not institutions. So let's look at another one, stack sats. I love the stack sats. Fold is all about stacking sats. Many of you are here because you stacked enough sats, and now you can fly to Hong Kong and go to conferences like this. But stacking sats it's a religion. It's an opportunity, right, to have like a low time preference. But it's not active. It's just something that you do with your savings. Why not stake your sats? So can we make Bitcoin productive? Can we make it something that you might want to actually do something with? Not just something that you're keeping under your bed, but something that you can cultivate and grow. So that's why I like staking sats over stacking sats. It's an opportunity for people to actually do something with their money. And then, of course, my last favorite Bitcoin ritual is complaining on Twitter or Weibo or Reddit, or choose your favorite. So instead of complaining on Twitter, what if we were to, actually Bitcoin together? So we're all using this single chain, this single source of truth. We're all using it together, but it doesn't feel that way. We can be ungovernable. We can rebuild the internet, but we can also do it in a positive way that's not just telling people just stack more sats, just spend less on coffee, but that's actually reasonable and meets people where they are. So these are the things we're working on in Mezo. We're building an economic layer on Bitcoin. And what that means is meeting people where they are, which often is at an ETF. A lot of people don't even make that next step. We're trying to help people take that next step and use Bitcoin for everything. Refinancing your home, gaming, everything that we've seen on other chains, but all the things we haven't seen on other chains either, like running payroll. Y'all, I've been in the space for 11 years, and I still haven't seen anyone but the most fringe, like Web3 team actually run payroll on chain. It's pretty uncommon. So our goal is to build everything on Bitcoin. So my request for you guys, if you're still really excited about ETFs and you're like a macro person, cool. JP Morgan has open rules. Go for it. Put it in an application. Say Matt Luongo sent you. I'm sure they'll have no idea what you're talking about. But if you are interested in building something like this, where we extend Bitcoin, we make it much more useful to anyone, not just to savings, please come talk to me. We're hiring very heavily at Mezo. And that's all I got, y'all. Thanks a lot. GG.